G'day Year 12 and welcome to another YouTube lesson. Today we're going to take a look at, again, strategies of human resource management. Strategies are things that HR manager can put in place to be able to improve human resource managers to meet that HR effectiveness criteria. Now there's two different strategies we're going to take a look at today. They are rewards, which includes monetary and non-monetary rewards, and also global, which includes cost, skills, and supply. Okay, as always, you need to make sure that you are defining your syllabus dot point. You need to make sure you can explain how it can be used as an effective strategy. And on top of that, you need to make sure you've got relevant case study statistics, especially for the case study based essay. Now, if you get asked a question that's an essay on evaluation of these strategies, this is where you need to make sure, again, you're doing each of these three things I just mentioned, i.e. define it, saying how it's a strategy, using case study statistics or linking it to the scenario question, but on top of that, saying whether it's an effective strategy or not, and using the next subtopic, effectiveness of human resource management, as your criteria to address and assess whether it is actually an effective strategy or not. Now, the first of these strategies I mentioned is rewards. There's two main types of rewards. That's monetary, cash coinola, and there is non-monetary rewards. This is obviously a reward, something that an employee receives that has no monetary value. Inside this syllabus dot point, we look at individual versus group rewards and the concept of performance-based pay. Now, what are rewards? Rewards are the incentives that are provided to compensate and motivate people, employees, for their time, skills, and effort in a job. They're both monetary in nature and non-monetary. Okay, now the first type of these ones, monetary rewards. It's like it says, money, cash, coin. Monetary rewards are financial incentives provided to an employee, a worker, to complete their job. Now, if you think about it, as much as I love coming and teaching you fine students, I'm not going to do it for nothing. You know, I need some type of monetary compensation known as a monetary reward. So what are some examples of monetary rewards? We've got pay, which can be salary or wages, superannuation, bonuses, profit sharing, fringe benefits, anything that involves some type of financial benefit to the employee is known as a monetary reward. Now, that's the definition. There's examples. How is it a useful strategy for a business to employ in terms of HR management? It's a useful strategy to improve worker productivity because higher pay generally results in a more productive and happy workforce. And when we go that step further, as I was saying beforehand, we're taking a look at the evaluation of this strategy. If a business uses it, you can look at the indicators from the HR effectiveness criteria and see whether worker satisfaction is increased. Higher pay, generally, higher worker satisfaction. In terms of less accidents, less days of absenteeism, more pay, more focus, staff generally will be there more days and take less days off sick. Now, we talked about monetary rewards. We also have non-monetary rewards. These are rewards which meet this intrinsic need, values and beliefs a person has regarding their job. I'll give you some examples in a second, but in terms of monetary versus non-monetary rewards, you know, I often sort of give this example. If I could give you $100,000 a year, which is pretty good coin, not as much as a head teacher on $115,000, but close enough. If I could give you $100,000 a year or give you $300,000 a year monetary rewards, you'd obviously take the $300,000 a year job. But if I said to you that you need to work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, 0 holidays, you might rethink that. And so this is where non-monetary rewards comes into play. It's not all just about the financial compensation. There's got to be something else. So some examples of non-monetary rewards include creating a positive working environment, job enrichment through interesting and challenging tasks and role statement, having flexibility in the workplace, providing good educational and training opportunities. All right, so that's an example, but how is it an effective strategy? Because you're going to need to perhaps recommend this as part of your essay questions. These non-monetary rewards can be seen as effective strategies because many are not all that expensive, and they can provide a high level of motivation and create a happy and productive working environment. Now, as part of this rewards process, we have individual or group rewards. Now, individual rewards are rewards, both monetary and non-monetary, that have been discussed above, but they're given to individuals on their own. Whereas group-based rewards, they refer to rewards the workers get as a whole collective, as a group of people. If they're working together on a project and it does well, they meet their KPIs, their key performance indicators, then the whole group on the project gets perhaps a bonus or something. It's where groups of employees can be rewarded as a total. Now, group-based rewards can have their problems. If you think back to school, which you're in, so it's not that hard, but for old people like myself, I often remember assignments, perhaps your business studies plan that you did last year. Was there someone in the group who did a lot and someone who did not much at all? Not much stuff at all. And I think you're thinking about it, which one are you? If you have to ask, you're probably the one who did not much. Okay, now when I was at school, I would have done heaps of work. Probably not. But in terms of the workplace, that happens as well. The problem with group-based rewards sometimes is that some people work hard and other people don't. And therefore, it's difficult to compensate different people for different things. And this sort of ties in with this performance-based pay notion, which is part of the syllabus dot point here too. It refers to performance-based pay, workers being rewarded based on how they perform against predetermined benchmarks, these KPIs. If they meet their targets, might be, say, as a teacher, even though it's you doing your assessment, but a certain amount of band 6s or band 5s or percentage above or below the state. And these are all KPIs that, all teachers do look at, and we have analysis tools to do so. But if you meet these targets, then you can be given additional pay. You can be given a bonus as such. Now, this can be a very effective strategy, performance-based pay, because it can motivate workers and improve productivity. But sometimes it creates a lack of collaboration. Just think, if, not that these YouTubers are an effective or awesome tool or anything, hopefully they're somewhat effective, but, if it was me being given a bonus for how my kids go against other students, then you would not want to share resources. There would be no collaboration between staff. And in social science at our school, we're often helping each other out, sharing resources, and so on. So sometimes performance-based pay can stop this from occurring. So it's something that a business needs to think about. Now, the second of these strategies that we're looking at during this lesson is global, and in particular cost, skills, and supply. Now, global really talks about outsourcing, being able to get workers, HR, from overseas rather than from the domestic market, i.e. a business will source or outsource a business function, and they can do this, or they will do this, because of 3 reasons. I'm pretty sure you can figure out those 3 reasons. One is the cost associated with the labour that we have in Australia. It's expensive. Another one is a lack of skills. We might have cheap labour, not that we do, but let's assume we did, then there's a lack of skills. You might have heard this term, probably not though, but skill shortage. That's why hiring tradespeople is always very expensive. There's a lack of skills. Now also supply is another issue that we face. And employing labour from overseas, whether it be outsourcing, whatever it may well be, can help address these issues, and therefore it's an effective strategy. So the first one here is to the cost of the employer. The cost of employing workers in Australia is not cheap. It's kind of a good thing in a way. I mean, I'm a big union man and vote for, the ALP, all done comrades. And so I think it's a good thing in general that our workers get paid a very decent minimum wage compared to other countries, especially compared to a country like the US. But because of that, the cost associated with employing workers in Australia is very expensive. And this has risen a lot over the past, 20, 30, 40 years. Therefore, costs, how is this a strategy? It's a strategy because a business may be able to source cheaper workers from overseas, thus reducing the HR or human resources cost overall. Therefore, it's an effective strategy. But there is also downsides with that as well. But cheaper workers is generally, a good thing for a business, unless those workers, really don't have any skills and they're not very good workers. But you can see how reduction in cost is useful. The next one is skills. And this refers to the training, education, and ability of employees. Now, as a strategy, a business may be able to spend a large amount on training its workforce. That's one option in terms of upskilling its workforce. Or, this is where this strategy comes in, another viable strategy would be to outsource various labour functions to countries such as India, other developing nations that have the necessary skills. Therefore, there's not the need to train the workers inside our own Aussie company. Now, the last benefit of this is the supply. Now, supply refers to the availability of workers who have the necessary qualifications and skills needed to perform the job. So the workforce in most developed nations are falling, and that's because we've got a greying population in general. You think of somewhere like Japan, and the workforce as a percentage of the total population is falling big time. Even in Australia, our workforce is probably increasing, but the problem occurs is that because of a huge greying of our population, the average age getting very old, the baby boomers, there's a huge amount of those. So there's nowhere near as much workers to be able to fill those jobs. Now, the opposite is occurring in developing countries, especially Asia, except for Japan. By using overseas workers, then the supply of workers is guaranteed, and therefore this can be seen as a viable strategy. All right, guys, thanks again for listening to these YouTube clips. And just a reminder, today we took a look at rewards, monetary versus non-monetary, and global sourcing of labour involving costs, skills, and supply of labour. Okay, see you next time.